I'm Rantasmo, and wrestling needs more gay. Being a gay nerd, and being composed of pretty much all of the stereotypes that entails, there are certain elements of pop culture that I've never really enjoyed, and probably never will. Sports, cars, sex with women, and then there's pro wrestling. Oh, man, this is kinda hot, you guys. Okay, so I don't exactly understand the appreciation that straight guys have for this sort of thing. I know that pro wrestling is pretty much a soap opera for guys, with all of your standard soapy building blocks, elaborate storylines, characters, and personas. And it's not like I don't love a well-choreographed fight scene. I get a kick out of Equilibrium and Legend of Drunken Master as much as anyone else who's seen those movies more than once. And it's not like I don't respect the amount of skill and discipline required to be a pro wrestler, especially considering the very real risk of permanent injury involved. But, really, guys? Is no one else seeing this? At the risk of sounding like Snobby McSnobberton and making the understatement of the century, pro wrestling just seems a little unrefined for my taste. It's just not a culture I've ever really had much to do with, which makes it both mystifyingly alien and, frankly, kind of a turn-on. From what I gather, the appeal of pro wrestling is the sheer spectacle of it all. It's all very, dare I say it, theatrical, which is why I've never really understood when people say they only watch it for the storylines. Seems sort of like watching porn for the dialogue. There's regular TV for that sort of thing, right? Pro wrestling sits in what I call the Valley of Virility. Common sense surmises that the more stereotypically masculine something is, the more heterosexual the appeal. But there's a valley wherein something can be so manly that it sort of loops back around and becomes super f***ing gay. Unfortunately, big muscly guys in booty shorts notwithstanding, wrestling has spent many years appealing to people's homophobia. In the 40s and 50s, wrestler George Wagner assumed the persona of Gorgeous George, provoking audiences into a frenzy with his effete flamboyance.
Despite his manly proportions, Gorgeous affects a marcelled hairdo and an attendant who sprays perfume around the ring to sort of sweeten up the atmosphere.
George was what's referred to in pro wrestling jargon as a heel, or a scripted bad guy for people to root against. Acting effeminate and flamboyant is a cheap and easy way to get general audiences to hate you. It's a technique that's been used by wrestlers throughout history, even last year by openly bisexual Orlando Jordan. It probably wasn't the most socially responsible choice, but in a way, I think this guy was actually sort of awesome. What, am I supposed to not want the guy in the pink go-go boots to win? I don't care if he's the bad guy, I'm rooting for the guy who gets lowered into the ring wrapped in caution tape. Still, what does it say about us when we specifically maneuver audiences into saying, yeah, get him, hurt the one who is different? Things are extra awkward when the wrestlers get married to each other. Boo! Marriage equality, boo! Recently, wrestling companies like TNA and WWE have at least made an effort to appear a little more enlightened, speaking out against bullying in response to the rash of gay teen suicides. There is still some catching up to do in the way of cultural sensitivity. And unfortunately, this doesn't seem like an industry where being sensitive gets you very far.